right. Hello, our zero viewers. This is the Heathen the Heathen Hangout, and your host Ike D's and Eric Gamage.
Gamage.
Damage,
Gamage with a G.
damage with a G.
I,
Um,
I, I still wanted to call this D's Nuts, but we'll go with Heathen Hangout.
yeah, I don't. It'd be hard to convince people to come out and hang out on my nuts. So I don't know. I don't know how well that would go over. But yeah, basically, I don't know. Anybody watching this probably already knows who we are. Anybody that will watch this will probably already know who we are. But if you don't know who we are, uh, me myself, I'm your typical half black atheist, hard nosed, annoying, logical skeptic. Um, that's about all I can say about me.
that's,
Just, I'm
that's
just
that's not typical at all.
I'm just your I'm just your average skeptic fucking troll. Um,
and I'm your average privileged white guy.
right, privileged white male.
I lived
Yeah,
a very privileged life. I'm not rich or anything, but I didn't deal with too much shit. Yet at the
so
same time, I fight against all of it.
so being white and having a penis has worked out for you, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have it any other way. But at the same time, giving that I have a white skin color and a penis, which may or may not be huge, um, I've had the affordability to look at the world in a different way than other people for how it really is.
Well, I definitely appreciate your insight because it's definitely unique. It's definitely unique. It comes from you take your skepticism into politics, which I appreciate because a lot of people, even people who you consider hard-nosed skeptics, just fucking drop that shit whenever they want to open their mouth about politics. But
Yeah.
I noticed that you I hate to use this term, but I noticed that you keep that shit pretty real when you're venturing outside of religion. You know.
Well, yeah, and I'll say, like, my whole transformation started with religion. It was like once I believed that was bullshit, I started on a journey that ended up with like this endless pursuit for knowledge. And but once you see that the religion is bullshit, you start to see that everything else is bullshit too. And I hate to use the term waking up,
Hmm.
but in a sense, it's like I kind of realized the world that was around me, and I had to change it up, and uh, I had to fight for something greater than me.
Hmm. Right. Now you said to me that you've only been an atheist for what, over a year, somewhat over a year.
A year and a half to like 2 years.
Okay.
Um, and since I was 17, I started questioning it, but it wasn't until I was about 25 that I considered myself agnostic, and I went with the ideal that I know that I do not know. I don't know anything, so just whatever. But it wasn't until about 2 years ago that I was like, no, I fucking know some shit,
Yeah. Yeah.
and and I can prove that that's bullshit. Like, rather than allowing you your opinion, which is bullshit, I can question you on that.
Right.
and that changed everything. Because once I started to question religion, it was like, well, what else don't I know about the world?
And that's what leads a lot of people on the path of straight up skepticism. Atheism is a good
Yeah.
gateway towards skepticism. Now, did you struggle at all once you dropped religion? Did you stumble across any other kind of
Oh,
absurdities like
oh
all of
yeah,
us do, or most of us?
yeah, yeah. I totally did. Well, once I decided I was agnostic, I was like, okay, well, I don't know the answers to all this shit. And so I was like, well, what are the possible answers? And then all of a sudden, I'm, you know, changing my room to fit into with feng shui, and like, well, red stuff can't be rounded; it has to be spiky, and all the other different karma, feng shui, chakra, pseudoscience.
Oh man.
and I totally went there. I mean, in fact, when I first became an activist, protesting, my first one was a GMO march,
Nice.
which
Nice.
which I'm totally not for now.
Oh, wait a second. So are you saying that you're a shill from Monsanto? 'Cause
If I was, I would probably have a webcam.
I just, obviously, if you aren't afraid and fear GMOs, obviously Monsanto is cutting you a check. I just want to know how big that check is. I want to know how frequently those checks
Because, yeah, I'll do it.
are.
But yeah, there's so much bullshit, and that's the ultimate advice that I give to anybody who says, like, I question this, and it's like, you know what, you're right, you should question it, and you should question everything else too. Don't fall into some other charlatan's grasp, because they're waiting for you. They're there.
Yeah, keep on questioning. Don't just
Yeah.
when you get on that path of questioning, it's like let's not start accepting every other answer just because some shit's bullshit. So let's start absorbing any other
Yeah.
answer out there, and that's where I think my biggest fault is I am not as patient with people who are sometimes just clearly on a path for the truth. Sometimes they stumbled on this theory or that
Yeah.
theory, and before they embrace true skepticism. So sometimes I'm a little impatient with people who are probably just on the path.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that because I've been there too. But I mean, we all agree that Building 7 wasn't a coincidence, right? Or no?
Oh gosh. Tower 7, man. Yeah, and one thing I will say in defense of taking a strong stance against silly beliefs is when because like I stumbled as well. Like as soon as after 9/11, I kind of stumbled into trutherism a little bit. You
Yeah,
know, at one
been there.
time after 9/11, there was a period of time where I was convinced that a missile hit the fucking Pentagon because that's what stupid internet videos convinced me of, and
Yeah.
people were when I went into intellectual circles, I got fucking beat down with logic. And no matter how pissed I got, man, I still ended up, looking into that opposite opinion, that counter argument, until eventually I accepted the reality that I was just stuck in a fucking bubble, and I was,
Yeah.
believing these horrible like storylines that you would find in like a shitty Tom Clancy novel.
I think a lot of that stuff presents something important though, and it shows your rejection or distrust of the government, which in itself is an important tool, but you shouldn't buy into any specific belief like 9/11 being an inside job.
Right.
But the fact that you distrust your government is important. And
Yeah.
I think that's something that you should look into. Why do you?
Right.
And I think there are reasons for it, but everyone has their own different reasons. But you look at like the police. I don't want to call it a police state because we're not totally there yet. But it's pretty obvious that the police are militarizing, and so like when you distrust a government, and the government at the same time is like, well, we need a tank in Missouri, like, well, why?
Yeah. That leads us into our first subject here, and that's the police. And it's a good point you made. It's not. We don't live in a police state. People want to confuse the term police with police state, and that's not what makes a police state. It's not about the police. Sure, the police can
Yeah.
play a part in a police state, but I think we're just getting caught up with the terms. Now, could we head to a police state? Sure, that's possible, but we are far ways away from that. But my opinion, if at first this constant, referring to it as a police state was really annoying the shit out of me at first. But the way the cops are out of control, the problem that we have with cops, you know what? Let people call it a police state and think it's a police state and fight against it. That's whatever they want to fucking think. Whatever gets the people riled up to fight against this obvious, overpowering gang we call the police.
Yeah, and that's where I get not confused. I understand what it is, but like I see so many arguments that get down to where it becomes definition. And they're not talking about the bigger subjects. And whether you call it a police state or you don't call it a police state, the fact is that the police are over militarized. The people feel vulnerable to them. I mean, like, how many times when you see a cop pulling up next to you, like on the freeway or anywhere else, do you feel safe?
Man, right.
Like, I mean, we don't feel safe. Like, whenever we see a cop, we go, oh shit.
Oh shit! Yeah. There was even a time where I was a legal caregiver. I was growing legal medical marijuana, and while I did feel a little safer having a card and some weed on me when I saw a cop behind me, even then I was still like, anything could happen because these people are. This is a gang member behind me. This is a fucking. This is a fucking. A straight up tightly knit gang member, and anything can happen. So yeah, I mean, I fear the police whenever I see them.
It's to be honest, it's a white gang. It's KKK light.
A lot of people defending the police will always throw that, but there's a lot of black cops. There's plenty of black cops.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I mean, but still, that doesn't mean that it's still, there's atheist soldiers, but they're still in a fucking Christian army, basically.
Yeah.
You can join the military as an atheist, but you're still fighting for a Christian army, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that.
There's some ladies that are in the KKK that probably all they do is bake cookies and get together and give people cookies, and it's all about hanging out and having a good time. But no, you're still in the fucking KKK.
Yeah.
Yes, we both just compared the KKK to the police.
Well, then it must fit.
Yep. But what do you think about this? This is pretty significant what's happening right now. Police brutality is nationwide right now. The subject of police brutality and overreach.
It is worldwide.
Yeah, it's worldwide. Yeah, for sure.
it's been, to be honest, we're actually late.
Yeah.
Other places have dealt with it first, and maybe in a sense of privilege, like we think of like, oh well, it's just coming to us now, but it's yeah, it's definitely worldwide. Um, Anytime you give anybody authority over yourself, and you do it for the greater good, whether it's seat belts or whatever. Um, but more specifically in this case, when you're talking about militarization, where like your local town of 20,000 people can have a Hummer that uh, is resistant to mines. Is that really our big thing now?
Oh yeah.
I don't worry about mines on a day-to-day basis. Maybe police do. I don't know.
It just seems like it's just another form of capitalism. It's like it's the police department has become this like gang hitman kind of ball breaker for the court system, and their
Yeah,
job is to go out and just either fucking kick your ass, kill you, or take your fucking money. I don't understand
yeah.
how
It's
none
totally
of
a
yeah,
racket.
right.
And like when you look at like the prison system being privatized, where like not only are they sending children to jail, but like even maybe you can clear me up on this, but like look at like Detroit, where they wanted to shut off all the water for the people who couldn't pay.
Yeah,
At the same time, you have a a prison system that will take in criminals privatized, and so like if I'm not mistaken, isn't it illegal to collect rainwater there?
I don't know if that's just a state by state law, or it's a federal law or not, but I know that there are places where you can't just collect rainwater. It's like against the law for some reason. I, the whole Detroit water thing. I mean, when the United Nations has to step in
Yeah.
and say,
That's pretty
"Hey,
bad.
what are you doing to your people?" There's a lot of people. This is another issue that is about empathy. Like people just really lack empathy. I was having a
Yeah.
discussion about this Detroit thing with some people at work, and a couple of people that I was talking to, they said, "Hey, water, I'm like, water is a right," and they said, but it's not free, and 2/3 of these customers have, they pay their cable bills, so why aren't they paying their water bill? And I'm like, you're still just neglecting thousands of people who don't have cable or anything like that, who have no water, who are struggling in a shitty, horrible city
Yeah.
where water is like up to 40 something percent higher than other places. So I mean, there's just this lack of empathy. While people are saying, "Oh man, those people have cable and they're paying the cable," what about the kids right now that don't have any water and that aren't washing their
Yeah.
assholes? Like people
Yeah.
just lack empathy, man.
They really do, and I mean, and that'll spread disease.
Right. Yeah. So that's another thing, man. Detroit. I'm out
Front to
here.
back.
I'm out here. I can't handle it, dude. It's I'm in
Yeah.
one. I'm like probably 20 minutes outside of downtown Detroit in a very Republican suburb where they don't have any public transportation, and they don't want public transportation because they
Yeah.
don't want to. They don't want to mix with the poor and the riffraff and the minorities, because it's
Yeah.
that kind of area where it's just everybody's just Republican and white and has has a fucking car. There ain't no bookstores.
Yeah.
It's very Republican out here. But And that's just one suburb. And a suburb like that is another place where it's just like the city of Detroit right downtown. The poor people suffer under something like that.
I always thought it would be very ironic if the people of Detroit protested in great numbers, and in order to restore peace, if you will, they used water cannons.
Yeah, didn't somebody on CNN suggest that?
Yeah, in Ferguson.
Okay,
Use water cannons. It's like, no, do that in Detroit. Motherfuckers will drink that shit.
because all I saw was a picture, a screenshot of that video, and it's like this lady saying that, and her co-anchor is giving her that look like, what did this bitch just say? She really did suggest that you. I don't think she understood what she said. Obviously,
Yeah.
Nobody could. I don't know.
No one can have that obvious hatred.
Right. Maybe it's just been a long time since she's seen the videos of black people getting sprayed with water hoses in the 60s. Maybe she just somehow forgot about that, or just for some reason never saw that. But wow.
which which honestly that goes into the whole activist movement of, what are we fighting for? And I gotta say, like I've been to different protests, either for women's rights, to oppose the NSA, etc. And I would go to these anti-NSA rallies, and there'd be like 30 people.
Right.
And the next weekend they would do a thing for women's rights, and there'd be 100 people. And then the next weekend they would do, immigration reform rights, and there'd be, 150 people. And I can't help but think, like, what if we all got together? Come out every weekend, and instead of 100 people or 50 people, let there be 500 fucking people, so that like the news can't avoid it.
Well, how do we get that unity to trump tribalism? Because I mean
Yeah.
that's probably the main reason why people won't get together. Because you know the,
They fight for their separate issues.
right, for sure. Now, yeah, like you mentioned, like what kind of stuff do we fight for? What do we push for? And I think that's all relative compared to where you're living, what kind of society you're living in.
Yeah.
Some things are more important, some things are more useful. Some things are higher in demand depending on what society you live in. So right now, I think one of the biggest, most important things to advocate is science education.
I agree, because I gotta say, like, I grew up semi-religious. I mean, it wasn't strict. I'm not gonna pretend like, like I was in a religious family. Like, we didn't go to church that much. Like, I was circumcised, and I got my communion, but like I never got confirmed or anything. And through all that, it was like I saw how useless it really was, because even my family was like, meh. So I got to see like how useless it really is, and after I started questioning it, it was like, well, if it's meh for my family, and I have all these other philosophers that I'm reading that say, well, maybe it's bullshit altogether, it's like, well, maybe they're right.
Yeah.
Once you go into that, it opens up like a new thing, because like, well, once you finally become atheist, at least I know for me, like 2 years ago, I became atheist fully. Like, I didn't call myself agnostic. I was like, no, fuck religion. And I was like, well, I don't know how the world works then. So how does it work? And then that's when I got into science. And then when I learned more about that, it was like, well, shit, show me more. And it opened up this endless desire for knowledge.
Um, yeah, that's what people don't understand about science, and that's why I push so much for science education is because a lot of times when I tell people, yeah, I'm a science advocate, or I'm with this organization that pushes for science education, or I've had this happen numerous times, and maybe you have too if you've ever mentioned it, but
Yeah.
people like, oh, science, like Tom Cruise, like Scientology.
Yeah. Oh, I've definitely had that conversation.
Wow. Like when that happens, it takes everything in me just to understand that this person is not trying to be an asshole. Like they don't understand, but it just really shows me like, wow, the basic definition of science totally missed this person.
Yeah.
This has happened numerous times. I've been asked if I was a Scientologist more than 5 or 6 times easily.
Yeah, me too. Oh, so you believe in science or you're a Scientologist? What? Fuck no, Xenu?
Yeah, for anybody watching that doesn't know anything about science, Scientology has exactly nothing to do with science.
No.
But to not to strain from your point, yeah, science education is important because science, like
Yes.
Carl Sagan said, science is more than a body of knowledge. It's a way of thinking,
Exactly.
a way of skeptically interrogating the universe. And so many things just come along with that, And I credit um, my interest in science and what I learned about science. I credit that with making me shy away from even something like conspiracy theory,
Yeah.
or maybe the one time when I used to support Ron Paul.
Oh, what was that?
um,
And the
uh,
Fed.
yeah, that's dude. That's the book, man, and the
I
Fed.
I still
That's
want
what.
to I still want to end the Fed though.
Yeah, me too. And that's what got me. That's what got me to briefly, and I'm just saying briefly, because
You libertarian motherfucker.
I briefly swung on Ron Paul's balls for a second. But yeah, I don't want to stray off that subject, but we might as well lead into our third subject here.
Yes.
Isms, because I wanted to talk about uh,
Yeah.
libertarianism.
Yeah.
A lot of people ask me if I'm a libertarian as well, because it's obvious that you're not a fan of Republicans, and then somebody sees you dissing the president or making fun of Democrats. They're like, "Oh, so you're a libertarian?" That's painfully narrow thinking. Fuck no, I'm not a libertarian. I'm not a libertarian, a Democrat, or a Republican. I believe that those terms
Yeah.
are today. Those terms are better reserved for politicians and not citizens. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Isms create schisms. It reminds me of a Christopher Hitchens quote. I've always found it quaint and rather touching that there's a movement in the U.S. that thinks Americans are not yet selfish enough, and it's about libertarians.
Mm, I'd like to read that. Um, you were saying?
Well, and it's uh, and a lot of libertarians also go with Ayn Rand. You know,
Yeah.
this idea that like there should be no safety net whatsoever. That like, well, if you weren't taxed so much, you could spend all your money on whatever you wanted to, and like if you get sick, fuck off and die. And I could never support that.
Yeah, I'm the same way with Ayn Rand. It paints this picture that the problem with the world is that people are actually too selfless, and that's why everything's all fucked up. If we were just more selfish and looked out for ourselves more, the world would be a better place. Yeah, seriously, fuck Ayn Rand, and that's a big reason why I don't follow libertarianism, because I know that a real libertarian, maybe a libertarian that doesn't come from the U.S., that isn't stuck in
Yeah.
this United States tribalistic fucking political nonsense. Maybe a real libertarian doesn't believe in this nonsense, but over here, a libertarian, I'm sorry, a libertarian is a selfish fuck in the United States.
Yeah. It's I mean it's basically like well shit. I was gonna say it's like Tea Party, but and then I couldn't think of anything. It's a lot like the Tea Party.
Tea Party, but weed is cool. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess because you gotta have some liberties, but at the same time, like you gotta restrict liberties for others. Like, and anybody who's got a rough time, fuck them,
Yeah.
fuck them and die. I'm not
Um,
paying for your shit.
People might call us hypocrites for, supporting other isms and lashing out at some isms. But then
Yeah,
here's the thing with isms.
yeah,
Some their meaning changes. Sometimes they're useful. Sometimes that shit runs out. Right now, why I call myself an atheist but won't call myself a feminist is because I honestly believe that we don't live in a society where a majority of the people are sexist. I just don't believe that. I think that some
yeah,
feminists might honestly believe that to be true, but I just don't believe it. Um, right now, we do currently live in a country that is over 70% religious or believes in God. So it's kind of it makes sense to call yourself an atheist. Sure, when I say that I'm an atheist, maybe I'm speaking your language because I'm calling myself an unfortunate term that wouldn't even exist if you didn't believe that bullshit.
yeah,
But majority of the people are religious; they believe in God, so I'm an atheist. I have to distinguish myself. Once a majority of the country, if I was lucky enough to live that long to where a majority of the people drop religion, I will drop the term atheist.
yeah,
You know.
yeah. And the only isms that I still hold are humanist and transintellectualist, uh, or transintellectualism. Um, but even then, humanism, I don't even think should be an ism. Like to me, that's just normal. But I realize that it's not right now, and that's why it's needed. And I think that's the same thing for feminism or anything like that. At one point they were definitely needed. Now, we have the ability to look at our global society in a different way. I mean, it's the age of reason, the age of information. Like we've got all this shit at our fingertips. Like I don't need to call myself a specific ism.
Yeah, yeah. That's what. Is it just me, man, or is it weird? Because we know, you know, when I say that I'm not a feminist, somebody says, well, it's a simple definition term. The simple term of feminism just means that you agree with equal rights of both the sexes. And sure, okay, by that definition, I'm a feminist.
Yeah,
But also the dictionary also, by a definition in the dictionary, I'm also a mulatto. I'm not gonna fucking call myself a mulatto either.
yeah,
I'm just not gonna do that. But as far as feminism goes, man, I don't you think it's weird when you see, knowing what the dictionary term of feminism means, and that's what it's championed as, don't you think it's kind of weird when you see a woman claim that she's a feminist? Like, you fucking better be if that's what a feminist is. I mean, oh,
Yeah.
you're a woman that agrees that you're not subhuman. Fucking here's a cookie. Here's a fucking cookie for being a woman that believes that you are equal. Like, that's a problem. And to anybody watching this that might disagree, this is all speaking from, living in the West, a Western point of view. I understand that maybe in other parts of the world, feminism might be able to go places where maybe atheism and skepticism can't go, and
Yeah,
it could be needed in other parts of the world, and even
definitely.
in small amounts here. I mean, I know there's sexism that still exists in this country, but as far as
Especially in the South.
yeah, yeah, definitely. It just as far as this whole, you know, we're equals, we're equal. I'm a victim, I'm a victim. I'm really getting sick of that shit. I'm really getting tired of being told that I'm somehow privileged because I have a penis, and I don't feel fucking privileged. I really don't.
Yeah.
I understand that feminists hate when you use that fucking argument, but it's true. So many things that come out of the feminist movement is very insulting to a man.
Yeah, or even the fact that you can't comment on it. Like, a big thing that happened probably about, oh shit, is about a year ago now. Wendy Davis stood up in Texas, for women's rights, and
Right.
I went to a protest for that, and so many women thanked me for being there as a man, and it's like, I'm not here because I'm a man. Like, I'm here because it's fucking bullshit. And I just want equal rights for everybody.
Yeah, it's you're there because it's another common sense injustice.
Yeah, and I would do the same thing for illegal immigrants or any racial rights, whether they be Chinese, black, Hispanic, whatever.
Right.
I'd be there for that too. So, I mean, I appreciate the thanking, but I really wish that we really could just all get together, because that's our problem,
Yeah.
is the division.
Yeah, that's true. I was watching the Drunken Peasants podcast, and they had a debate, which I didn't really agree with because the debate seemed, too narrow. It was a feminist versus men's rights movement supporter.
Men's rights.
Yeah, so to me it was just like two of the same bullshit arguing. There was to me it wasn't a true representation of the argument, because what about somebody that doesn't believe in either one of those bullshit cults? You know,
Yeah.
that's what you needed a more of a voice that was, and I guess TJ the Amazing Atheist was kind of the voice that doesn't believe that bullshit either one of those cults, but still it was a ridiculous debate.
Yeah.
But he made a good point. Like, if you guys are both for equality, why the fuck aren't you guys working together? I mean,
Yeah, and I did a post on Facebook recently, and I asked people about feminism, share their thoughts, and what we all pretty much came to agreement was, well, we all want the same thing, but like we're arguing over definitions.
that that goes back to first world problems.
Yeah,
People focusing on petty bullshit to argue.
and that's the beauty of humanism, which I hate to support any ism whatsoever, because once you seem to label yourself, people just jump on you.
Yeah.
But like, if wanting everybody to be equal is a crime, then fuck it, lock me up.
Right. But yeah, and I got a lot of feminist friends, a lot of people who call themselves feminists who are my friends, and
Yeah,
a lot of times they agree with me as far as any of my a lot of my criticisms of feminism. But to me, it's like another cult, another gang. there's not any policing going on, and a lot of the times the extremists, the feminist extremists are referred to as just this irrelevant, small, vocal minority, and I think it's more bigger. I think it's bigger than that because think about it when that whole thing went down with that kid killing some students and shit. I forget what happened. He killed like what,
Oh
four.
yeah,
He killed like four boys and three girls or some shit like that. I can't remember, but he killed some students. And that Lacey Green video got really popular. And my social network isn't exactly filled with a bunch of extreme feminists, but sure enough, the idea that these kids were murdered because of sexism was just a common idea amongst my feminist friends on my social networks. And all over the internet, like it just blew up. It's this common idea that those kids were murdered because of feminism. That's just ridiculous to me. Oh, hold on a second. But yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, the idea that sexism killed that kid, that really, really rubbed me the wrong way. And that was when I was just
yeah,
like, I knew that there was just no going back. There's no way that I'm ever going to go back and embrace feminism. I think it's gone way too far because that was not the vocal minority. That was the overall general idea of that absurd nonsense. So anyway,
yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, and that's part of the problems with isms to begin with is that they get so overgeneralized. I mean, whether you take capitalism, socialism, communism, any other ism, they get so overgeneralized that it's easy to paint a picture that doesn't actually exist.
right.
And people will cling to that and use it as a as a basis to you know I don't know what the right word is, but oppose any kind of differing ideology, and that's part of the problem that we have with capitalism now is like so many people are scared of socialism or communism that like they not only will not question capitalism, but they won't even question the mechanics of it, of like money creation or monetary market economics, and so they just assume capitalism is the only way, and we're going to come into a big problem with that, but that's maybe better later discussed in another episode.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, just isms are annoying, and most of them are very unfortunate. And a lot of the isms that I use and I refer to myself
Yeah,
are just buffer terms, and they're there
yeah.
to make the person listen to me feel better. Other than that, like I don't follow anything. I don't follow any kind of ideology. Just I try
Yeah,
to follow logic and the truth, some sort of the truth,
yeah,
But some isms eat other isms. Like I feel that that my skepticism can cover so many other annoying isms.
yeah,
I really do. And if people want to be technical and about feminism, meaning specifically this, if it's really about equality, then what's the term? Egalitarianism? Is that the proper term? I'm not sure, but that term actually is equality of everybody.
yeah,
That's what feminism claims to be. We can't deny that feminism focuses on a specific sex, and I don't understand how that's equality. I just don't get it.
yeah. Me either, and I agree that like I mean, I and I want equal rights for everybody, and I posted that on Facebook recently, and I had a lot of my friends say that they're feminists, down to the core, and yeah, at the same time they agree with me. So it's like, well, our only difference here is definition.
Yeah, that's it. It's just an unfortunate primitive term. Like, think about
Yeah.
it. That term came out when you were unique for not thinking women were subhuman. You were like,
Yeah.
you were special. You were a revolutionary. We don't live in that fucking time. So when
Yeah.
we hold on to these terms, these this tribalism, it makes people fish for shit to be offended about. So
Yeah.
while somebody's getting fucking stoned for having a vagina and reading or something in another country, you got somebody arguing over a rape joke, or a way you worded something.
Yeah.
It's just first world offense. Feminism isn't the only ism that suffers from that. Even atheism suffers from it.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of people are real sensitive about race. They ignore actual racism and hold on to bullshit. They can only they can only go with like a viral racism. They can't accept that something might not necessarily be racist. As soon as it's labeled racist, yes, it's racist, and let's run with this, and this is bad, and we're never really even discussed. Because
Yeah.
I don't want to get off subject too much, but the whole idea that one girl was blackface back in the day, the girl that dressed up as the Orange is the New Black, her whatever favorite character from that show, the idea that was blackface. Oh, it's just a fucking slap in the face for anybody that was ever truly offended by actual blackface or lived in those
Yeah.
days, or anybody that fought for uh, civil rights or anything. It's just a slap in the face to people that actually dealt with actual racism.
It is, yeah. We're taking all this trivial bullshit and claiming it to be what it's not, and yeah, it's a slap in the face to the people who dealt with the real shit.
Yep. So first world problems,
Yeah, yeah,
first world offense.
yeah. We can take offense from a lot of stuff that other people can't. It's like you only put 2 pumps of mocha in my frappuccino. I wanted 3. That's
Yeah.
bullshit.
But I think despite all the shit that I constantly point out that's wrong with the world, we can't ignore progress. I mean, there is progress here and there,
Yeah,
and if we forget to embrace it and to acknowledge it, I think it could be counterproductive. I think we need to embrace and celebrate any kind of progress, not as a overall victory, but as a small victory here and there. I think any little thing that we do to progress is significant. We got to look at it.
yeah. Technology. If you look at it historically, it's the one thing that has really changed our lives that other things have not. I mean, like you can maybe look at some political, uh, things that have gone down, but like if you look at like the early 1900s, like the top 10 populations of cities were all in the Northeast, and
Right.
then when you look at like the top 10 populated cities now, 7 of the top 10 are in the Southwest, and that's because of air conditioning. And that
Hmm.
might sound trivial, but like that's the shit that changes our lives. And the problem is a lot of people confuse technology. They don't realize that a fork is technology.
Yeah.
They think of electronics or something, or like something that is coming up later. It's not something that you live with now, and it's like that technology. You didn't invent it, you grew up with it. I mean, even look at from like 1912, look at like the Wright brothers, to what we have now in plane technology where we're going like Mach 7. Like That's only 100 years.
Yeah.
And our technology is amazing. So like if we don't embrace it, we're just Luddites.
I mean, yeah, you don't embrace, you don't get with the times technology-wise. You get left behind, and I'm totally about embracing technology because I embrace
Yeah.
science. You know.
I had a friend of mine that got a smartphone. They had it for about a month and a half, and they were like, "Fuck it, I'm going back to like a dumb phone." It's like, really,
Uh,
you might want to embrace that because like if you want to take a flight anywhere, the kiosks are all touchscreen. Everything is touchscreen now. Like
yeah.
you might want to learn how to use it.
I don't understand that logic of going backwards with technology. I don't
No.
understand how that could be convenient.
Yeah, I guess you just get stuck in something and you can't move on. But if you don't move on, what are you doing?
Maybe that's why every single TV show that you watch nowadays, they're still using flip phones. That's why.
Yeah.
And all these characters in these TV shows, they just don't want to embrace technology.
Yeah, I mean even when it comes to like how the shows are figured out, like the old comic or the sitcom, the situational comedy, if you will, like that shit is old to me. Like I know it's all fake, and like I can't even enjoy them.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't listen to radio and I don't watch TV, but that might be me.
You don't watch TV. Do you watch any kind of
I'll watch an
television shows
occasional.
anyway? Like,
Well, I'll watch like some stuff from like HBO, like Game of Thrones,
okay.
or something like that. But like if it's on regular cable TV or like radio, I don't know anything about it.
Dude, I totally feel you. I pay for cable because it was cheaper for some reason to get this
Yeah,
cable
I got the
TV.
same.
So, but I've literally never turned my cable box on once. Not one time.
Yeah.
And then like most of my favorite TV shows, I couldn't even tell you what time they come on because I stream them.
Yeah, you either stream them or you DVR them and watch them when you're ready.
Yeah, or I torrent them. Which of
Yeah,
course I would never ever do because that's illegal.
that's bullshit. Well, and that's the thing is like those cable companies have to get into the times just like the telephone companies did. You remember how much we had to pay for fucking long distance, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh well, we can do it all for free on the internet. It's like, oh, it's not 3 minutes or $3 a minute. It's only 15 cents.
Yeah.
It's like how long have you been raping us?
Hmm.
And I think that's what the cable companies are dealing with now is like, oh shit, like they can get their content elsewhere. They don't need us anymore.
Yeah,
And,
so their claws are they're gonna dig in their claws and put them cocks
yeah,
deeper up our assholes.
yeah, they're gonna try or they're gonna fail, and people will disband. They'll just disband and leave the cable companies just like they did with the telephone companies.
Yep, I cannot wait for that.
You either get with the time, adapt or die.
But until then, there will be a lot of anal rape going on.
Yes, yes,
There's gonna
they
be,
will take it all the way.
and all these are,
Unfortunately.
all these jokes are coming from the point of you don't want, a cock in your mouth or a cock in your ass. If you're into that, that's cool. But we're just talking like unwanted penis inside me action.
Yeah, unwanted penis insertion, no matter what sex you are, is just not acceptable.
And that's the whole premise with capitalism. It's like capitalism is about, hey, this cock is going in your mouth, and now you're welcome. You're welcome to take this cock outside of your mouth. You're welcome to pull it out, do whatever, but you won't survive. So cock in
Yeah,
the mouth, feel free to take it out, but you're gonna be fucking dead. So
Yeah.
There we go. That's capitalism for you.
Yeah, that's I totally agree with that. That's pretty much right. That's why I wake up at 6 in the morning fucking angry and then drive an hour to work to a job that I fucking hate to work there, like the majority of my life.
Ugh,
Just to get home so that I have just enough time to, make myself a little bit ready for the next day.
that's
Yeah, I can quit my job, but then I'm fucked.
right. You do that just to survive, and it's not like that job is providing you with anything to where you can just go buy a house, buy a car, live comfortably. No, it's just like just to survive. And I mean, you're married, right? So
Yeah.
you know, I'm sure you have to deal with two incomes, and probably couldn't survive if you didn't have those two incomes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's yeah, that's definitely the whole thing. Like, if we didn't have that, I mean, I remember even when I was younger, for the first maybe 5 years of my life, my mother didn't work, and then when I got to about 6, it was like, well, we have no other choice. She's got to work. And so all of a sudden I started walking home from school alone and getting home and having to make my own dinner and watch my own TV. So, I grew up on TV and microwave dinners.
Mm, America.
Yeah, because, mothers couldn't be there anymore.
Same thing with me, man. My mom was a single mom, me and my two other siblings, and by the time I was, 10, 11 years old, she had to go to work and I had to stay home. So
Yeah.
I'd come home and I'm in middle school and I had to come home and take care of myself.
Yeah.
And that's happening all over the country in way worse ways right now. Worse than it probably ever was when I was a kid,
Yeah,
you know.
definitely.
But I don't. I wanted to go back real quick before we get out of here
Hmm.
because I wanted to go back to the ism thing real quick because we
Yeah.
were pretty hard on feminism on this.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of isms that don't escape this. Atheism has plenty of shitheads waving the atheism flag that are fucking stupid,
Yeah.
moronic, fucking cult member, ideological assholes. So I just wanted to put that out there. I mean, there's plenty of shithead atheists out there. I'm in a lot of atheist groups,
Yeah.
a lot of atheist pages. I interact with atheists a lot every single day, and while I might find it easier to, reason with more atheists than say theists, oh my God, there's some really stupid fucking people in the atheist community. There's some there's some real idiots, some real assholes, and that the problem is you have these people who are trying to unite under this one narrow thing, a disbelief in God. There's only so much you can unite under that one aspect of that flag. I mean, atheism is one simple thing. So these people that try to unite and form all these bonds are weak. These bonds are fake. And these friendships, a lot of these friendships and relationships are so fucking fake, and it just breeds this sick cesspool of narcissistic fucking shitheads doing high school shit. So I don't know. Anybody that's in the atheist community probably knows what I'm talking about. But yeah, atheism is they don't escape the problem with isms.
Yeah, you're totally right. Um, and then that's the whole kind of thing of the isms is you're characterizing yourself to not to appease, but like you're following a specific thing that like, and I think that's part of the problem that we have in our current society with capitalism and a lot of different institutions is a lot of this shit is static and like it won't allow itself to change and we really have to address that. Like, our thoughts are emergent, and like we're going to be subject to change. So like, like I became an atheist, and everyone was like, "Oh, great, you're an atheist. You think this," and it's like, well, not exactly.
Right.
And it's like I want to go further than that. I don't want to just be an atheist. Like, uh, especially, here's a little quote from Sam Harris, whether you like him or not, for other
Oh,
reasons.
I
But
disagree with him on some things, but Sam Harris is fucking awesome.
but one of his things is like, what argument do you use to somebody who does not value logic? What logical argument can you give them?
Right.
And it's like, if they don't value logic, the answer is simple. There is no, logical answer to that. You cannot convince them with logic. So what are we trying for?
And that's a good point. And a lot of the times, while the goal isn't to deconvert people, it's always nice when that happens, and it does happen
Yeah.
more frequently than activists, skeptics, and atheists get credit for. Deconversion is more common than that, but the ultimate goal is to just unite the people that feel the same way, that might not speak up, that might want to speak up, not know how to speak up. Because that's what I get a lot. There's people, a lot of the times before people start coming out publicly and speaking about it, they might message me, and it might be private conversations, and they're talking about how they're not comfortable doing this publicly, saying this publicly. But a lot of the times, it's just there's a little fire that gets lit under people's asses, and before you know it, they're fucking expressing themselves, and they're calling people out at the fucking water cooler at work, and
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, and I think atheism is definitely a positive step forward, but like we can't embrace that entirely. Like
right.
it's just part of the we need to attack these people from all sides, and by these people I should say, I mean people that are like susceptible to charlatans.
Yeah.
People that just believe in bullshit, whether it's karma, whether it's chakras, and I'm not saying that there couldn't eventually be found some kind of evidence of, vibrations or energy, but for now we don't know that shit. So fuck off.
Yeah.
And the same thing goes with atheism too. I mean, we all know that we can't actually disprove a god. We can disprove the ones in the books, though.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so, like, we have to throw that shit out, but at the same time, we still need a form of unity. And, and it's funny because, like, when I first started off, I was all about ridiculing. And more, I find myself trying to go away from that. Because I know some of these people that are religious, that don't actually read the Bible, that don't follow it, yet they're good people. And I'm thinking, like, they might be good people to have on my side.
Yeah. And that's why, like, I remember I was really fucking butthurt when Neil deGrasse Tyson refused to call himself an atheist, and he
Yeah.
actually he kind of threw atheism under a bus. But
Yeah.
despite that part, I kind of understand why he doesn't feel the need to call himself an atheist. He's a fucking astrophysicist. He lives in a world of people, surrounded by a world of people in his community of scientists and shit, that it's just fucking common sense that that whole God thing doesn't exist. So it's kind of where he's got to basically speak somebody else's language to call himself an atheist. And so I kind of my opinion on him and his atheism is kind of changed. Although I do believe he kind of did throw atheism under a bus.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I don't know. I'm kind of torn on that. Like, I do agree that he did throw it under the bus, especially since right now you have to consider where people are coming from, and
Right.
like the word atheist does not mean what it means by definition. It means a whole lot more to the people who are theistic.
Right. True.
And you have to show that opposition because you have to uh, you have to break down these arguments. I mean, at the same time, we got $8 million of taxpayer money in shit. Where is it? Where Ken Ham wants to build his fucking ark.
Oh, some creationism.
Yeah,
Oh, the
like
art. Right. It's in a poor society too, in a poor city, right?
yeah,
Like,
and they're gonna spend all their fucking money building an ark. You know what I say? Fucking build it, and then let's put two of every animal on it, and let's prove this motherfucking shit wrong.
oh man. Yeah. See, and the problem is though they have no interest in proving anything.
Yeah.
You know. They just want people to believe.
Yeah, and they'll make it a little museum, and they'll charge $20 to go inside, $15 for kids.
Yeah. But yeah, like I'm just at the point now, man, where I'm trying to stay away from as many isms as I can.
Yeah,
As many isms as I can.
yeah.
That's all I can
Right
do.
now, the only two that I fully address is humanism and transintellectualism, because and it's funny because I go so I'm so far progressive that even humanists are like, what the fuck is wrong with this dude?
I love the idea of trans intellectualism. It's fucking awesome. Like,
Yeah,
a lot of people don't know what that is, but I highly suggest following the page. And if you're a fan of Graydon Square, if you know his music, if you're familiar with what comes out of his mouth, check into trans intellectualism. I don't want to butcher it by
yeah,
trying to explain exactly what it is, but it's basically about people who are interested in not only science and skepticism and technology, but using all those things to help further evolution into a type 1, a type 2, and eventually a type 3 society.
yeah.
And maybe you can explain it a little bit better than I can.
Well, yeah. Following the Kardashev scale, which, if you don't know what that is, I would recommend looking that up. But if you're any fan of philosophy or like futurists from the past, like look at Buckminster Fuller, he talked about the same kind of shit, and it was the idea that like we need to transcend what it is to be human. Maybe human isn't about getting a job, punching in and out, and that's your daily life. Maybe it's more than that. Maybe we can allow technology to prevent drudgery from our lives so that we can develop our human experience in a way that like we never knew possible before. But that's just an inspirational way of looking at it. um, I'm not gonna say it's gonna come easy, especially because so many people are against automation and they hate the self checkout kiosk. But I personally prefer them because I can get in and out of there in like 15 seconds. But maybe that's just me. Maybe it's because I grew up with the technology, and maybe it's a generational gap. But we have an incredible world before us that if we just embrace it, uh, we are capable of so many things as a human species. But until that time comes, we're just gonna keep suffering.
Yeah, and a lot of people watching this are familiar with Grand Unified and what we do. Now, the goal of Grand Unified is, presenting arts and entertainment that's informative and educational, focusing on science education. Now, that's a very obtainable goal, is getting to where a society embraces, generally embraces science and
Yeah.
technology. That's obtainable. That's something that might not happen in our lifetimes, but it's something obtainable. Now, what's a bigger goal than that? All right, so society embraces science. We understand science. We got a general better knowledge of science. Where do we go from there? And that's where the Cartridge scale comes in, and that's how we
Yeah.
evolve into type 1, type 2, type 3.
Yeah, when we don't have to look out for our own personal survival, we have the ability to expand what it is to be human, and all our abilities. We can start looking at the stars instead of looking at our paychecks.
Hmm. Some of us already do that.
Yeah.
Which is why I live in a fucking rat hole in the Metro Detroit area. Yeah. But I don't know. I don't want to go on too long. I don't want to let this run over. I think it's been we're well over an hour.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna wrap it up here. Do you have anything else? Anything that we might have forgot?
No, I think that pretty much sums it up pretty well.
All right. Well, what did we learn today? We learned that the police fucking suck. So what? Fuck the police, right? That's what we learned. Fuck the police.
Yeah, the police are brought to you by the letters F and U.
Okay. Activism. Where to tread, where we need to tread. We kind of talked about that. But activism is needed. Activism is good.
Yes.
Don't waste your activism fuel on petty nonsense.
Yeah.
The isms food chain. The problem with isms, what isms are needed. I think we covered that pretty well.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, that's pretty much it. Um, we'll try to do this regularly. We'll try to add more structure to it as we go along. Like I said, I haven't hosted a podcast in over a year, so I'm very rusty. I don't even know if I can really call this a podcast because I don't even own a microphone. I'm doing all of this on my shitty ass 3-year-old, 4-year-old Dell laptop with this laptop microphone. But whatever, we're gonna try to keep this going. See where we can go with it. So hopefully you guys enjoy this, and if you do enjoy it, share the link.
Yes, definitely.
And I will put some shit in the description, some links in the description for your enjoyment. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Ike D's, Eric Gamage.
Gamage.
Yeah, peace.